With the post show from the Ballito Pro presented by O'Neill. A lot of talking points from a really fun day of competition. Some of the top seeds have entered the chat. Some surfers from the championship tour taking on some of the better surfers from the early rounds. Loads of talent going down out in the water, and a lot of big talking points from a day which kind of a tale of two oceans, really, from the real quality we had this morning, kind of surf trip type stuff, to a little more grindy this afternoon. Here to talk you all through it. Joining myself, Paul Evans, Kai Linder, Gig Cilliers. Thoughts on the day, guys?
Yeah, it was a fantastic day. I mean, the morning started off maybe a little slow, but then as we got into sort of like the second heat of the morning with the ladies, it really started to pulse, and there was some nice size. A couple of incredible waves to start for the guys. We saw the airs coming out, and it was amazing. And then, like you said, things got real grindy, and I think the guys in Heat 10 breathing a big sigh of relief that they can wait for the morning offshores.
Yeah, Gigs, pretty much true to forecast, exactly what we're expecting. We expect to be really good this morning. Great winds, beautiful conditions out there. That's what we got, and the surfing matched it.
Yeah, in Travis Logie's defense, making those calls. The biggest water movement as well of the month with the full moon. You know, you got about 6 to 7 feet of tide. A lot of that water did rush in, but I mean, how was those highlights through the low tide this morning? Lots of exciting surfing as we transition back to men's round 2. And it was a lot of content for us to work through to this afternoon.
All right, well, in terms of highlights from a day of competition, the best of conditions they were. First thing this morning, our first heat from the round of 64. It was a standout heat to us on paper, and it didn't disappoint us as well in the water. This one was an absolute cracker of a heat.
Yeah, Amrod came in guns blazing. He had a real sense of urgency about his surfing. And of course, this young man as well, really putting on a display of power surfing. It was a great way to start off the men's competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zhao Zuchi, Cade Matson, and the rest of the crew there, Kalani Ball as well, they kind of stuck themselves up for the heat. And in fact, it was about 2/3 of the way through the heat that Michael Rodrigues was sitting down in fourth, and he needed to pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Well, I mean, this aerial was just crazy. You could see he was loading up that spring, just knowing he needed something big to change the heat around. It's also, for me, just the section he did that aerial on. He landed completely in the flats, and we know how shallow it is there, Gigs as well, and just incredible surfing.
Yeah, I kind of mentally think Jago Dora's big punt for the 10 a couple of days back in Rio sort of cross-relate that, and it was only really the landing and a little bit of a warble for Michael Rodrigues, but a 9-pointer saw him go from fourth to first and, well, rewrite the heat.
Yeah, you think there's different ways of making it through heats, but getting the 9 as well, doing it with that kind of explosive surfing. And by the time he landed on that inside section, he's so close to the crowd here. I mean, we can read the expression on his face. He'll be absolutely delighted. And, you know, we talked about his confidence. He's generally a confident performer. He's going to be deadly confident in the next round.
Yeah, and Emrod's really dangerous when he starts feeling the roll going, and we've seen it in so many events before. When he's on top of his game and he's feeling that energy, he's not scared to go big, and when he goes big, he gets big scores, and the ball just keeps on rolling. So very excited. It's always nice for an event when Michael Rodrigues comes to the party.
And just in terms of those maneuvers and what's available out here at Ballito, Gigs, that big air rotation, we've seen that as a weapon throughout the day. And any surfer in a bit of a position in fourth, needing a score, whether it's a set or whether it's a between wave, well, we've seen a lot of those aerial maneuvers, and it's entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ballito's given us everything. Again, a strong message from the judges. They wanted to see the combination of maneuvers as the conditions slightly went off the boil. They went back to the basics. But the other thing I just want to quickly throw into discussion here is Championship Tour, former Championship Tour surfers putting their hands up, and the young challengers have got to go up against that level of competition. So there's a beautiful theme developing here.
Yeah, some great heats throughout the day. Let's turn our attention to the women's competition. It was heat number 6 from that round of 48 for the women. And that one didn't disappoint as well in terms of performances going down. A highly competitive heat, and really enjoyable to see some quality going down from the likes of this woman.
Yeah, Ellie Harrison did a good job and got a stranglehold early on the heat. In fact, it took a while for the rest of the competitors to engage in this particular encounter, and it was a real late run from the South African Zoe Steyn at the end that would get her involved in this. Of course, Natasha van Greunen as well, also doing a good job in her respective heat. But it almost looked like all the way through the morning it was taking half the heat for competitors to figure things out, and then everybody really banked their two-wave contributions in the second half.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. It really did. I was watching this heat from the beach with some of the South African supporters, and one of the Groms asking me, is Zoe woken up this morning yet? And I was like confused, because normally she's such an aggressive starter for her heats, but she came right at the end, an 8.0, 6.5. She found her feet and smashed the heat.
Well, being coached by Greg Emsley, who has come off the Olympic success of Bianca Baitenbach, he knows how to manage Zoe Steyn, and as I mentioned, it was a late finish to that heat, but the South African did put her hand up, a little flash of the talent perhaps to come from her with that 8-pointer.
Yeah, the crowd absolutely loving that hit. Another strong sewing from our South African contingent. Plenty of those surfers left in the draw as well. Local knowledge as ever important. But of course, they are coming up against some of the very best from around the world. And we talk about some of that championship tour talent coming and stepping down and doing battle here. Overall, who's winning that battle between CT surfers coming back here to try and get back there, the emerging talent? Where are we with that so far from what we've seen?
Oh, for my books, I think Giggs is right. The CT guys, the guys with the experience, seem to be locking it down, especially in the latter part of the day where we saw those like grindy heats happening, guys like Freddie and them really put their hands up. Jackson Baker showing his class and fighting back at the death to get the second place and make it through the heat. The
other point as well, Gig, an event like this, we're here for a week. It's that marathon, not a sprint as well. And some of these quality surfers just kind of doing enough to get it done. Feel like they got loads more in the tank.
Well, I want to counter-argue Kai there, because what about names like Eli Hanneman that are suddenly putting their name up? So those challenges are coming through. And again, a couple of the big names have fallen out the draw. We'll discuss that.
All right, so that classic battle of the generations, we absolutely love it. Let's get into some of our top 5 moments of the day. And talking about the young up-and-comers. Sorry, we're going to go and hear from the winner of the last heat before we get into our top moments of the day. He's standing by.
I'm here with winner of the last heat, Marco Mignot. Tell me, how was it out there? Conditions looked like got a bit more challenging through the afternoon. How did you take out that win out there?
Well, when I got into the heat, I was expecting some a bit of consistency, you know. In the first 5 minutes, it was like no waves. I got like a little 4, and then I kind of got in the rhythm. Then everybody started to get like 5s and stuff. And at the end, I needed like a 5 point something, and I was able to do a nice air, and I was able to make it a heat. There was a really stacked heat, so it was good to get the win.
You've been to South Africa before, but you've never been to this Quadakuza region or the town of Ballito. How's your trip been so far? And I know you told me you've been getting so barreled.
Yeah, man. I was expecting not this good, you know. Like this, the first morning with me and my friend Garcia, we walked up at the beach, and we just saw this perfect right-hander just spitting. I was like, oh my God. And we got there, we got barreled, and it just went through like 5 days like that, and it was amazing.
Well, congratulations. We'll see you in the next round. Good luck for the rest of the event. Back to you guys.
Marco Mignot, absolutely stoked to get out of a tough one there. We talked about the emotions on him, that $1 million smile. He's loving his time in South Africa.
Well, he's loving getting barreled for 5 days straight while the juniors were on. And the nice thing about this location is that there are so many other waves within spitting distance of the contest.
All right, we're just revisiting that chat about emerging talent that's coming through here on the Challenger Series and making statement performances. Let's get into our top 5 moments of the day, and let's check out the youngster out of Hawaii, Eva Wong, who looked amazing out here this morning, bashing out about huge scores with brilliant surfing and a cool customer as well. Let's check her out, Eva Wong.
Yeah, definitely one of my standout performances of the day. This young girl from Hawaii just absolutely attacked the Ballito lineup. She was in a real rhythm as well, Gig. She was just finding those good waves.
Well, that's always the secret, right, is to find 2 of them. You can have a 9-pointer and still lose a heat. This was that second, number 4 for us. And how was that corrupt flip? We loved this one. We were in the booth calling, we were going nuts for it. And through that period of a couple of heats, everybody was going to the end. Carlos Munoz didn't disappoint.
Always an electric performer, an entertainer. Carlos Munoz didn't really have the rub of the green on the championship tour, doing great here in Ballito. And this was Zoe Steyn out of South Africa, ripping in the morning light.
Yeah, she's always so solid on her backhand, coming from the Hoon Reef in East London. Obviously, Greg Emsley, her coach. And she had a late start. We discussed it, but she came strong in the end and making the heat. And then, of course, Giggs mentioned this guy, Eli Hanneman. And he went straight to there, big air, followed up by a really strong turn into the lip. And it was interesting talking to Eli in the interview. He said to me, he's been struggling a little bit with competition gigs because he feels like people expect him to surf a certain way in competition, and he's come to this event saying he's going to surf Eli.
Well, of course, Eli was inspired by this one here. This is the 9-pointer from Michael Rodrigues. Just that little glitch at the end, perhaps robbing it of being a perfect 10. But the beach lapped it up, the judges lapped it up, and of course surf fans everywhere have come to see stuff like this. And well, Michael Rodrigues, again, showing that pedigree, and as we mentioned, being inspired perhaps by that perfect 10 of Jagodora.
Michael Rodrigues just really showing his class, wasn't he, out here, and just enjoying himself as well. You can tell some surfers just really kind of enjoy surfing in heat and getting big numbers and performances. Rodrigues is someone who's definitely going to be part of this conversation throughout the Challenger Series, throughout the rest of this season. It's already been an entertaining couple of days so far in Ballito. Loads more yet to come. Just a quick closing thought from the day.
Well, I think the closing thought for the day is like, don't stop and get your wave count in. That's the two things I picked up today. Some people had really slow starts and they just didn't find that momentum, whereas we saw people like Zoe Steyn able to just activate a score and get the ball rolling. So I think in this lineup you really need to just not sit around too long. You've got to find those waves.
Giggs, your thoughts for tomorrow? What have we got in store?
Summarised today in a nutshell, I've got it as 50-50. Championship Tour surfers stepping up, names like Federico Moraes and Marco Rodrigues particularly, and then new talents like Eli Hanneman and such. So to me, it's a lovely balance, and to me that is the theme of this whole Challenger Series, and today just played out perfectly.
Should we come back tomorrow morning and have a look? What do you think?
I think we are definitely coming back
Keen
tomorrow
for a look
morning.
in the morning?
It's going to be...
Should we say 7?
7, I'm in.
WorldSurfLeague.com at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll look forward to the pleasure of your viewing company then. In the meantime, we'll send you out with some highlights. We'll see you tomorrow.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.